Hey, welcome to the channel. Today I'm about to check out film theory. Bees or fish? I don't know how. Maybe he's gonna give us a reason why bees are fish, which I don't know. But hey, man, it's food theory, so we gonna see if I don't know, bro. But y'all, wait. But is are bees the fish of the insect world? But that wouldn't make sense. Alright, you know what? With that said, let's just see how and why bees are fish.
Read the headlines. The courts just ruled that bees can now be legally considered fish in California.
Wait,
Sushi.
what? This was. Okay, I thought it was gonna be him, but it turns out the government are like now identifying bees as fish as well. Alright.
Will never be the same. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, where if it walks like a bee and talks like a bee, it's probably a fish. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for yet another round of stupid food classifications.
Okay.
But this time things are a little bit different. I mean, people have been debating whether a hot dog is a
Yeah,
sandwich
I
since
still don't know
man
what to
first
say.
placed a floppy tube of meat between two buns. But bees as fish? I don't think anyone's ever questioned whether those two got mixed up on the old taxonomic
Yeah, I don't
tree.
understand
Yet here we
this.
are. The state of California has legally declared that
Bumblebees,
bees, insects
okay.
that don't swim, live in, or breathe water, are now legally considered fish by definition of law in the
Why,
state. Remember that
though?
time we dedicated an entire episode to whether Subway tuna was actual tuna? Turns out it was bees the whole time.
Not the bees! Not the bees!
For legal reasons, I should probably specify that
Well, it's
Subway
by
tuna
Nicolas
is not
Cage,
actually
bro.
bees. Okay, but seriously, what is actually going on here? I know those gnarly surfer bros over in California tend to do things a little bit differently, but seriously, do they take one too many trips to In-N-Outs? Well, believe it or not, but this was actually a very real legal case with some very high stakes. And as you might imagine, the lawyers pulled out every trick in the book, making this the most absurd bee-related legal case to ever hit a courtroom.
What exactly is
I was about to say, like, you're not even gonna count the B movie because that was a really interesting. I mean, but then again, compared to this, I don't think it's that far fetched.
relationship to that?
Woman.
This isn't about her little bed bug.
Oh,
Mention this guy.
that was assault, and he let you do it.
Oh, Lordy, I'm hit. The venom. The venom coursing through my veins.
Oh, bro, Barry beat up. This was a fire movie, bro.
Okay, I stand corrected. Most absurd bee-related legal case not involving
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld. So today
It's gotta
we're
be. That's what I'm
exposing
saying,
the
it's
truth
gotta
of this
be.
case, the secret conspiracies behind how foods get classified, and why it all matters to you. So let's get
But then
beesy,
again, that
shall
whole court case is about. I mean, having bees represent the flowers, and that I guess that's not absurd, but just not like it's not natural. It's just iffy, but that's what I'm saying.
Now, if
It's
you've
not
watched a
as
few of our
absurd.
episodes about the legal versus technical definitions of food, you'll know that sometimes lawyers and judges keep legal definitions loose and springy to account for unforeseen future situations. That allows for policy and change to get affected quickly, despite the government historically moving at glacial speeds. But loose definitions also leave loopholes for creative lawyers to jump through. And
Okay.
boy, howdy, did they start to get creative with this one. You see, back in 2018, several environmental and animal protection groups brought a petition to the California State Fish and Game Commission, asking them to add 4 specific subspecies of bumblebee to the list of officially protected animals under the California Endangered Species Act.
Okay.
Sounds easy enough, right? Especially since there are very specific criteria for determining whether or not a species qualifies for protected status. And wouldn't you know, the group came packing stats that backed their petition up. For instance, one fact they cited was that Crotch's bumblebee lives in only 20% of its original historic range across the region.
What
and
a
is said to
name,
have
but I-
declined 98% in relative abundance. I mean, that sounds pretty darn endangered to me. Assuming
Yeah.
the facts check out, this should be a pretty easy decision, right? Well, not so fast. You see, the California Endangered Species Act, or CISA for short, is one of the most powerful individual state endangered species acts in the United States, because in an effort to protect animals and their habitats, it gives the government the power to impose severe restrictions on what private landowners can and can't do with their land. So this one
Okay.
case isn't just protecting animals, it's a decision that affects anyone and everyone who might be trying to buy, lease, build on, or use land in its resources. If a protected animal hangs out in your area or winds up deciding it wants to use your area, well, you are out of luck, my friend. Suddenly, the land that you own becomes useless because a bee needs to waggle on a nearby flower.
That's
the more land
tough.
you own, the more of a threat this sort of regulation becomes. Enter California's immensely powerful agriculture and farming industry, or more specifically, the combined forces of the Almond Alliance, the Cotton Ginners, the Association of Pest Control, the Citrus Mutual, and the Farm Bureau Federation, as well as a few others. Basically, it's an Avengers-level team-up of industry lobbying organizations, and they did not want the bumblebees officially classified as a threatened species.
Okay,
Why? Because
that
doing
makes
so would
sense.
likely increase limits
That's
on
why.
land use, pesticide use, and take all the investments that they've made in huge chunks of land and make those investments largely worthless. That means finding new land, spending more money, and at the end of the day, raising the cost of almonds for millions of people in the country who buy them, as well as the 3 people left who still eat Almond Joy candy bars. So in order to avoid this, they evoked one of food theory's favorite tactics, a legal technicality, arguing before the courts that bees couldn't be listed as an endangered species, not because the data about their population or habitat status was wrong, but because the Endangered Species Act, as written and signed into law, is meant to
Okay.
protect, quote, bird, mammal, fish, amphibian, reptile, or plants.
No
Notice
insects.
something missing? Yep. Insects aren't mentioned anywhere in the text of CISA, nor are arachnids, crustaceans, millipedes, most invertebrates, really. But you get the idea. It doesn't
Wow.
exclude them, but it also doesn't make mention of them either. So that was the basis of the case. Hold on, you might be thinking to yourself, how could this not have come up before? After all, the California Endangered Species Act was enacted in 1970. We pull a lot of insect-adjacent invertebrates like lobsters, shrimp, crabs, and mollusks out of the water as seafood. So someone must have been concerned about an invertebrate at some point during the last 40 years, right? Well, yeah. In 1969, 1 year before CISA was enacted, California's separate Fish and Game Code Section 45 broadened the legal definition of fish to include, quote, wild fish, mollusk, crustacean, invertebrate, or amphibian. But in doing this, they actually legally opened up yet another magical technicality of the law.
And what's
As
that
written, the text of the code says that fish is defined as invertebrate, i.e. an animal without a spine. In other words, 97% of
Okay, and then they found a loophole, and that's how
all
they
living
threw in the
things
bees.
on the planet. Based on the context, you can tell that it was meant to be aquatic invertebrates
Exactly, aquatic,
specifically,
but
that's not what
the
it explicitly
loophole.
says. A loophole is a loophole after
A
all, and
loophole is
bureaucracy
a
is gonna
loophole.
bureaucracy. Based purely on what the letter of the California law technically says, the legal definition of fish can encompass anything without a backbone. Insects are invertebrates, bees are insects, therefore bees are fish, alongside
Yeah,
its other
I
fellow fishy
guess in a
friends
way.
like butterflies, earthworms, and spiders. So yeah, after some back and forth decisions on appeals between 2018 and now, bumblebees are officially fish in the state of California. There's no rule that says endangered fish can't live on the land.
Okay, well, sometimes science is more art than science, Morty. A lot of people don't get that.
And for as ridiculous as all
okay.
of this is, funny enough, it isn't the first time some random food item's been intentionally miscategorized as something else to fit through certain legal loopholes.
what?
Ever wonder why people have historically been so confused about whether tomatoes are fruits
You
or
can't remember
vegetables?
this
Well,
whole
you have
argument.
legal
Yeah, like what like what did the teacher say? If it's from the ground, if it's birthed from the ground, it's a vegetable, and if it's from like a tree or a bush, it's a fruit. Even though technically speaking, a strawberry itself isn't a fruit. It's a mixture of many other fruits and berries into one, something like that. And watermelon, watermelon hop out of a bush or from the ground as well? Because that I don't know, but a lot of contradictions, man.
issues to thank for that one. In 1893, a grocer named John Nix wanted to avoid a tax on vegetables and argued that his tomatoes were fruit. He wasn't wrong either. A tomato is a ripened flower ovary that contains seeds. That is exactly what a fruit is. But the courts didn't care about that. Ultimately, they decided that the tomato was a vegetable and that John Nix needed to pay his taxes. There was also a time
Wow,
in the 17th
he
century
tried
when the
it,
Catholic
though.
Church considered beavers to be fish. In the lead up to Easter, the Catholic Church discourages its members from eating meat on Fridays, but the Bishop of Quebec argued that beaver meat could be acceptable because it was such a good swimmer. Catholic Church was like, sounds good enough to me. And so the beaver
What?
became a fish, and its meat was deemed acceptable for eating on Fridays during Lent. They actually did the same thing with the capybara as well. According to the church, this swimming rodent right here, also a fish. But of course, all these legal gymnastics started to take my brain into some weird areas. I wanted to take this absurd premise to its logical conclusion. Like, alright, if bees are legally qualified as as fish now, that means that bee farms should technically have to pay the fees and pass many of the inspections associated with fish farms and fish hatcheries.
Ooh,
That's weird,
okay.
and I doubt anyone will actually enforce that. But if
True,
we're following the letter of the
true.
law,
But that
all
would be
bee
interesting.
apiaries are now doubling up as fish hatcheries. So that was bizarre realization number one. But what else can that possibly affect? Does that make bees seafood? Well, according to the letter of the
No.
law, the answer should be yes. According to the California
Yeah,
Department
yes, it is, but it isn't really because it's not even in the. So what would it be? Air food, I guess, but
Public Health, Food, and
but
Drug
nah,
Branch, any
I'm
fish
not.
and fishery products are considered seafood, which again is just a bizarre quirk of the law. Now, bees as seafood doesn't mean all that much. We don't go around eating bees like we do salmon and tuna and sushi.
Exactly.
So the comparison here is kind of silly, but then I noticed the term that they used in the legalese, fishery products. Things coming from fish and fish farms are also seafood. So would honey fall under that? Is honey now seafood? Yes.
No,
Yes, it is.
I mean,
it's a fish.
yes, by law, by that, yes, but at this, yes, but not really. You know what I'm saying?
Byproduct. Basically,
No,
the bee equivalent of caviar. But perhaps most absurd of all is the fact that should you want to catch a bee, you would probably now need something like a fishing license. Don't worry though, you get one of those for the low cost of $58.58. Or, you could always do catch and release of a bee. That said, of all the weird tangents that this research took me down, it was the rent a bee service that really caught me the most off guard. You heard that right, renting
a
bees. Farmers will
bee.
pay to have bees come over to their farms to help pollinate their crops. It's called paid pollination services, and it's becoming increasingly important to farming. Heck, there are even people named pollination brokers who act as go-betweens, whose job is to coordinate everything it takes to bring thousands of bees across state lines just so they can arrive right in time for pollination season.
What?
Is something like this necessary? Well, exactly what we've been talking about here today. A lower population of certain types of bees coupled with a greater demand for certain types of crops that need greater pollination services. And wouldn't you know, but the most dependent industry on these bee rental services is none other than the almond growers of California.
Oh,
Yep, our
shock.
dear friend from the legal case, the Hawkeye of the agricultural Avengers. He needs the
I
bees
mean, I
more
low-key
than
underrated in a way. I'll just say underrated. If you said that Aquaman, then he's useless. But Hawkeye, yeah, okay,
anyone else.
underrated.
More than half of the
Not talked
U.S.'s
about as
total
much.
amount of honeybees, in fact. Between almond milk, butter, almond snacks, all of it, the demand for almonds has exploded. And California, the epicenter of our lawsuit, happens to be responsible for 100% of the U.S.'s almonds and 80% of all almonds grown worldwide. Yep,
Okay.
that's right. 80% of the world's almonds are coming from California. And there just aren't enough bees in California to sustain all those almonds. Which has me asking the question, why then are they part of this coalition looking to shut down bee protections in the first place? They'd rather just rent a bunch of bees? So I looked into it. Maybe these 4 subspecies of bee are just the wrong types of bee to be protecting. It's important to note that bees of the world come in many different shapes, sizes, and flavors, and not all of them are created equally. We love the fuzzy-wuzzy ones that produce all the honey that we get to steal from them, but there are other equally fuzzy-wuzzy varieties out there, including the bees in our conservation
The
case,
killer bee?
the bumblebees. Evidence shows that both honeybees and bumblebees can be excellent pollinators for almond groves, where growers are currently renting hives of bees to do their pollinating for a whopping $200 per hive. Considering that you need 2 to 3 hives for a single acre of pollination, and there are 1.3 million acres of almond orchards across California, it seems
Okay.
like it would be financially lucrative to work with conservationists to increase native bumblebee populations, rather than, arguing in court over bees being the cousins of Flipper and Jaws. By increasing the native population of bees, they could cut down the cost of renting all
You're
those
really gonna forget
hives,
Willy, but
presumably
aight.
cut the cost of producing almonds
That's
in
a
the
mammal.
process.
Never mind,
But
never mind,
maybe
never mind.
bumblebees and
Still a
honeybees
bit, though.
don't work well together. Or maybe bumblebees aren't as good at the job. Oh wait, no, that's not it either. In studies where both honeybee and native bumblebee populations work on the same almond orchards, the presence of native bumblebees actually encouraged honeybees to work harder, meaning that their own pollination is also more effective. And the trees that bumblebees pollinate, studies from other almond-growing countries like Israel have shown, at least at a smaller scale, that bumblebee-pollinated
Okay, so this is
almond
more like
trees
friendly
produce more
competition in a
fruit than
sense.
honeybee-pollinated trees. So, at the end of the day, the bees that almond growers are arguing against in this legal battle are bees that are fully capable of pollinating their own crops, maybe even better than the rent-a-bee populations they're importing to do the job now. Instead, if Big Almond worked with conservationists to develop longer-term strategies to increase native bumblebee populations by putting them to work on almond groves alongside their honeybee cousins, we might not end up with bees having to be classified as fish. On the other side, if conservationists are open to the idea that the best path for survival for some bee populations might be working with humans, now we might have ourselves some common ground on this type
It's
of
just
issue
a
in the
loophole
future.
could
Am
still
I
get you
oversimplifying things
low-key.
somewhat for the sake of the discussion? Absolutely. Almonds in California are riddled with other issues that I'm not mentioning here today, like water usage, pesticides, lots of other pollinator populations, not just bees. The point here is that we shouldn't have to be doing this many legal gymnastics to
For
find
bees.
a solution. Scientifically and ecologically, there are solutions where everyone, including the bees, get a little of what they want. No fish required. But hey, that's just
the
a theory.
A food
theory. Bon appetit.
Fudge. Jeez. Louise. They really... I mean, I low-key feel like even after you've stated your case, they will still find a loophole within the policies and that, bro, because... Nah, bro, they'll find a way. They'll find, yes, technically speaking. No, not even, I don't even want to say technically speaking. It's not a fish. It's just a certain term you used and forgot to specify saying aquatic wildlife. You just threw out invertebrates just like that, and now there's damn well there's so many of that in the world. You should have specified properly. Do I want to eat bees as sushi? No. No, we already know which gang I rep. I'm not saying I'm gonna eat them, but I'm just saying, and gang and that. But damn, bro, like so much is done for bees. I guess they do a lot for us as well. We just rob them. But damn, so much, bro. Like, how many species have they bodied in their way to taking over and colonizing the land, low key? Sheesh, I'm sure the butterflies are out there like, bro, what about us? We also pollinate, but I'm guessing since they pollinate, they make the honey, bro. They doing the most. They work in packs. It's an easier, faster, much more efficient method. So I guess you protect the bees in a way. But damn, bro, they really went out of their way to classify bees as fish. Merca, everybody. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know which video to check out. I'm gonna do so. But for now, I'm gonna see you guys when I see you guys. So, see ya.